He arrived in America from Shanghai in 1945 with a degree in electrical engineering and a mind that would reshape computing. He started his company with $600 in savings, no orders, no office furniture, and no contracts. At its peak, his company had $3 billion in annual revenue, 33,000 employees, and its equipment sat on the desks of 80% of America's largest corporations. And then he made two decisions that destroyed everything he had built. His name was An Wang, and his story is the greatest rise and fall in American technology history. An Wang was born on February 7, 1920, in Shanghai, China. His father taught English at an elementary school. An was such an exceptional child that he entered school in the third grade at the age of 6. He graduated from Shanghai Jiaotong University with a degree in electrical engineering in 1940. He served in the Chinese military during World War II, and in 1945, at the age of 25, he immigrated to the United States. He enrolled at Harvard University for graduate school. In 1948, he earned his PhD in applied physics. He stayed on at Harvard's Computation Laboratory, working alongside the pioneering computer scientist Howard Aiken on some of the earliest electronic computers ever built. That same year, 1948, An Wang invented something that would define computing for the next 2 decades: magnetic core memory, a method of storing data using tiny magnetized rings of ferrite. Before Wang's invention, computer memory was unreliable and expensive. His magnetic cores became the standard way every computer in the world stored data until the microchip arrived in the 1970s. In 1951, Harvard announced it was suspending its computer research program. Wang was 31 years old. He had $600 in savings, a Harvard PhD, and an extraordinary invention to his name. He founded Wang Laboratories as a sole proprietorship. He was the company's only employee. He sold magnetic cores, designed custom electronics for other companies, and attended trade shows to drum up business. In 1956, he sold his core memory patent to IBM for $500,000. He used the money to expand. He also carried away from that transaction something that would burn in him for the rest of his life, a belief that IBM had dealt with him in bad faith during the negotiations, had strung him along, extracted information, and then forced a disadvantageous settlement. Wang kept a chart on his office wall on which he had plotted Wang Laboratories' projected growth against IBM's, with the 2 lines crossing sometime in the mid-1990s. He believed it. He planned for it. He drove his company toward it until the day he died. Through the 1960s, Wang built his first business on desktop calculators. In 1965, he invented a desktop calculator that was faster than any slide rule and far cheaper than a mainframe computer. At $6,500, it put computational power within reach of ordinary businesses for the first time. By 1967, Wang Laboratories was posting sales of more than $1 million. By 1970, $27 million and 1,400 employees. Then Wang did something remarkable. He saw the calculator business becoming a commodity, cheaper and cheaper, with margins shrinking, and he pivoted before he had to. In 1971, he introduced the first word processor, a typewriter with electronic memory that allowed typists to edit and correct documents before printing. In 1976, he launched the Wang Word Processing System, a full-screen, menu-driven system that displayed an entire document and allowed editing with extraordinary ease. It was unlike anything offices had ever seen. The Wang Word Processing System became the market leader worldwide. By the early 1980s, more than 80% of the 2,000 largest companies in the United States were using Wang equipment. The company hit $1 billion in annual sales in 1982, $2 billion in 1984, with profits of $210 million that year. In 1978, Wang ran the first computer advertisement ever shown during the Super Bowl. The ad depicted Wang Laboratories as David and IBM as Goliath, years before Apple's famous 1984 commercial made the same comparison. By the mid-1980s, Wang Laboratories had $3 billion in annual revenue and 33,000 employees. The company was the crown jewel of the Massachusetts Miracle, the technology boom that transformed Boston's Route 128 corridor into a rival to Silicon Valley. The city of Lowell, Massachusetts, where Wang's headquarters stood, had an unemployment rate of 4.3% in 1984. The company was woven into the fabric of the region. And then came the personal computer. IBM launched its PC in 1981. Apple was growing fast. Wang saw both developments and made a decision that would prove fatal. He concluded that dedicated word processing systems were superior to general-purpose personal computers for office work and that his customers would remain loyal to his proprietary platform. He was wrong. The IBM PC and its clones created an open standard that thousands of software developers could build for. Wang's closed proprietary systems could only run Wang software. The ecosystem advantage of the open PC market was overwhelming. By the mid-1980s, sales were falling, profits were collapsing, and Wang's lead was evaporating. In 1986, Wang made his second fatal decision. He installed his son, Fred Wang, as president of the company. Fred was 36 years old, and by most accounts, including that of Wang's biographer, was not qualified for the role. The company continued to decline. In 1989, An Wang fired his own son and brought in professional management, but it was too late. And Wang died of esophageal cancer on March 24, 1990. He was 70 years old. 2 years later, Wang Laboratories filed for bankruptcy, carrying $900 million in debt. The unemployment rate in Lowell had risen to 12.5%. What did An Wang actually build? 4 things that outlasted the bankruptcy. First, magnetic core memory, the standard method of computer data storage for 20 years. Without it, the history of computing runs on a different track. Second, the office word processor. He ended the era of the typing pool. He put a screen on every secretary's desk. The modern productive office begins with what Wang built in the 1970s. Third, the immigrant tech founder template. $600 from China to $3 billion in America. His story preceded and inspired every immigrant founder of the technology era that followed. Fourth, the warning about disruption. He saw the personal computer coming and chose his proprietary closed system over openness and adaptability. His story is the most studied cautionary tale in technology. Even dominance, even 80% market share, provides no protection against the next platform if you refuse to adapt. 3 lessons from An Wang's life. First, pivot before you have to. Wang saw calculators becoming commodities and moved to word processors before the market forced him to. It was the right instinct, and then he failed to apply it again when personal computers arrived. The pivot that saves you once must become a permanent habit. Second, openness beats proprietary systems. Wang's word processors were closed. They only worked with Wang equipment. IBM's open PC standard let thousands of companies build products for it. Closed systems protect your margin in the short term. Open systems win the market in the long term. Third, succession is a strategic decision, not a family one. Installing his unqualified son as president was the single act that most clearly sealed Wang's fate. Leadership transition is the most consequential business decision a founder will ever make. It cannot be made on the basis of loyalty or love. $600, a Harvard PhD, a chart on the wall showing Wang overtaking IBM. He invented the memory that computers ran on. He put a word processor on every office desk in America. He built a $3 billion empire from nothing. And then 2 decisions, one about technology, one about family, undid everything. Thank you for joining us for episode 28. Our next episode is Kemmons Wilson, the man who standardized the American motel and made road travel possible for ordinary families across the country. Until then, stay curious.